joining me on my channel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching the previous videos. If you haven't, you've still got time. But thank you for joining me today. I've got two announcements to make. Thank you for the feedback. I'm going to try and project my voice super loud because someone said they really want to hear everything that I say, and I think this camera picks up. The speaker is at the back, so I'm gonna try to speak really loud. I'm sure I sound absolutely crazy in the house, but it's okay. Secondly, just a disclaimer, I know my hair is looking a bit ratchet. I know. So what had happened was, yesterday it was a public holiday, so I decided to wash my hair, but the closest shampoo to me was the brand, I'm not gonna say the name, and yeah, it always makes my hair frizz, and then I didn't treat it or condition it after that, so it's just in this static frizz state right now. But don't worry, I'm gonna get onto that today. Anyway, on to more important matters. Let's get straight to it on what we're going to talk about today. And today we're going to talk about trusting God. Today we're going to talk about trusting God. We're going to talk about what it means to, when you know when you're here in church, or when you're going through stuff, and your friend always comes to you and says, "No, friend, just trust God." Do we really understand what that means? Do we really understand what that is about? So trusting God is basically just having confidence and boldness, and in who God is, and who God is as a father. Trusting God is about having that absolute, like, you're absolutely convinced about God, what He said about your life. You're convinced in what He said about you, or said He's going to do for you. Trusting God is almost synonymous, and it goes hand in hand with faith. That when you have faith, and I'm sure if you've read my previous blog post on bullymasby.com, where I was speaking about the promise, and basically the promise in terms of faith. When God has spoken to you and told you something about your life, and it seems to be taking a bit longer, you need to know that faith is something that, it's just not this concept that we all just seem to know about, but we don't fully understand. But faith really is just being so sure, like so sure. The way you're so sure that your boyfriend won't cheat on you. Like, there's those people who are just like, "Hey, I'm not moving, he will never." Yeah, that kind of sure. We need to have that. Really, we need to have more, not the same, but more confidence and trust in God that He is exactly like that. That whatever God said is going to come to fruition, is going to come to fruition in your life. When you trust God, you need to trust God from the basis of what He has told you about your life, or when He has given you a word. So maybe you have been praying for a certain thing, or you wanted a certain thing, and you've prayed to God about it, and God says, "Look, cool, I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that for you." And you have the word from God, and you are fully convinced. I'm not talking about that broad word from God that 2017 is going to be my year of thriving, that everyone seems to latch onto. No. It's when you trust God, and having a word from God is something direct, that when you go and you are in your prayer closet and you know what God has told you secretly, and you are fully convinced, you know a relationship you have with God, you know how He speaks to you, and He has told you that this is what is going to happen for you, and this is what I'm going to do for you, this is what's going to happen to you, that He's going to do it. That's what having faith in God is about. That even though it may take some time, and we'll get onto that in a minute, that you have to stay with it and trust His word. There's a danger in trusting God for something He didn't necessarily promise you. Okay? For example, if you see a DHL truck van or a Netflix van, and you think that those flowers are coming for you, okay, sure, maybe it's a surprise. Who knows? Stalker. I don't know. But maybe, okay, let me just say the DHL truck, and you know it's delivering stuff for someone. So you see it in your neighborhood, you're like, okay, it's going to my next door neighbor. You know, they get a package. And now all of a sudden you desire a package. You desire a delivery. Because deliveries are exciting. I get excited when the delivery man is knocking at the door. So you get excited, you know. But how do you get excited if you didn't order anything? Or someone didn't tell you, look, I am bringing something, I'm giving you something, I'm bringing your letter, I'm bringing your packet. Why would you get excited waiting expectantly for something that you know is not probably going to come? On the occasion of surprises, which God is great at surprising us, but really realistically, we need to, you know, pull ourselves towards ourselves and know that most of the time we are going to be receiving things that God said, you know, and you can't be hoping and wishing for something that firstly does not belong to you and was never your portion. You see, when God created you, he created certain things that are for you, and you can't go and be chasing what Penny on the next door is doing, because what Penny is doing is different to what you're doing, and you might think that they're similar, but your paths are so different. Your paths are so different. What is her portion is not your portion. So you need to trust that God is going to give you what's yours. So you need to stop desiring what is someone else's. But let me get back. So yes, you need to trust the word that God, when God says, look, I'm going to do this for you, you need to trust that he's going to do that for you. I'll make another example. So you know that, okay, you've had this desire and you've prayed to God about it, and God is like, okay, yeah, relationship is your portion, a great healthy relationship, he's gonna be amazing, like, you know, everything, you know, like, you know the conversations you have with God, you know, because God can be real specific. When you get real close, I promise you, he can be real specific, and you and God have this conversation, and you know what he ought to have, and you know, tunnel vision, this is the guy. Then you see Jimmy, right? And you see Jimmy's got everything. Jimmy's got it all. He's got cars, money, blah, blah, blah. Whatever your standards are, I don't know. People have weird standards. I watched Date My Family. I've heard the most bizarre wants and needs in a person. So just for the sake of this, we are gonna talk about Jimmy, who seems to have it all together. Seems to have a good job, property, car, whatever, stability, security, whatever. And you see Jimmy, but the one thing he's missing is that Jimmy doesn't believe in God. You know, people can believe in what they want, but in your case, you need that for your life because you're a woman of God and you need to be equally yoked. Now, Jimmy is not equally yoked, so you're gonna try and make Jimmy equally yoked. So now you want to take Jimmy to church with you. You want to mold him into the spiritual man that you think that you need. Just to be quite honest, if he has not made that decision himself to choose God and to love God, you cannot be Bob the Builder and think that it's gonna work in your case when you can just drag him to church and think everything's gonna be hunky-dory. No, God needs to cultivate himself. God needs to cultivate your person himself, so that when they are in Christ and solid in Christ, you don't have to be babying someone and pouring out into someone, because you know what, let's just leave the relationship thing for the next vlog. I think we're onto something here. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is, don't take and want to do things on your own, because when you invest in trying to do things on your own and then they fall out, and then you say, but God, when God was like, I told you to do it my way. I told you to do it my way. You really need to trust God. And that's the thing, it's gonna take long. It might take long. No, I don't know the time. It might take long. It might take longer than you expected. It might literally take 2 days longer than you expected. But because you felt like, no, it's not gonna happen and it should be happening now, then you go and take matters into your own hands. Don't do that. Don't sell yourself short. So in essence, trusting God is not a once-off thing. Trusting God is a way of life. It's a decision that you make daily. Every day you make that decision to say, you know what, God, I know my situation doesn't look like what you said right now, but I will wait until. I will wait on you. I will wait for you. That means you are exalting God. That means you are allowing God to work so perfectly and do things so perfectly. I'll tell you a story quickly. One Friday at youth, a lady by the name of Nombuso was telling us about a story, making an example. And she's like, this little boy is going with his dad. They go to the shops, and when they're at the counter, this little boy sees this huge jar of sweets, right? So he's looking up at this jar, and the lady's like, oh, take some sweets. She opens the jar and says, take some sweets. And the little boy just stands there, and by the way, I hope I'm getting the story right. It's how I remember it. So the little boy just stands there, and he stands there, and the sweets are his to take, right? Right. So his dad is like, go, take the sweets. And he was just like, no, Dad, you take the sweets. Because if I take the sweets, I'll only get so many sweets because my hands are little. But if you take the sweets, I'll get a whole lot more because your hands are bigger. And that is what trusting God is about. We're not saying that when you don't necessarily put your all and trust God that you will get nothing out of life. People do things in their own strength. But half of the time, they are only getting a fraction of what they could be getting and thriving on if they allowed God to take total control. I really hope that you have learned one thing from this, and that is really what it means to trust God. Is it going to be easy? No, but it's a decision every day. It won't always be easy. It won't always be easy because we love being in control as human beings. But sometimes just trust God. Trust Him from the get-go and watch Him do absolutely amazing things in your life because He promised to do so. So He's going to do it. And that's just the truth. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned something the same way, as much as this word is coming from me as you're watching, but it's something that I'm also learning. It is something that I have to do every day, and that is to trust God. And while I trust Him, to have just so much, you have so much peace, because He is gonna do it. He really is. So yeah, that is basically it. Don't forget to click subscribe, and yeah, I think that's it. Don't forget to click subscribe, watch all the other videos, and you can find me again on Instagram, on Twitter at Bulimazwi, and on Facebook. Please just please like the Facebook page because you get all the updates on there. You don't have to wait for an acceptance on my profile. No, just click like on my Facebook page, Bulimazwi. You'll see it, it's right there. Instead of the personal account, you can, but it's almost easier because you can get anything and everything on the Facebook page. That's Bulimazwi. So I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Thank you for tuning in. Stay blessed. Mwah.